Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bits and Bytes show. This is episode 2, and I would like to talk about Android phone operating system versus Apple's iOS phone operating system, or I should call it mobile operating system. That's particular the two phones. Let's start with Apple. I believe the iOS system is very great. The pros for it are it's very polished. I think that the user experience is a lot better. It's a lot more snappy and responsive screen when you're wiping or going through different screens or opening applications, closing things down, things like that. The cons are, one, you don't have flash players, so a lot of those web-based video games or applications that use flash will not work on your iPhone device natively. The other thing about iPhone is that it's more restrictive, so the types of things that you can do with it are not as open as the Android devices. For example, you can't just install any application you want. It's got to come in through the iTunes App Store, and it's got to be approved by Apple to begin with. So that a lot of people will call a detriment. On the Android side, one of the great things about Android is how fast it is. They iterate it very quickly, so hopefully if you have a phone, within the lifetime of the phone, you'll get a new version of the operating system much faster than Apple's newer version of the operating system. They do it much more faster than Apple can iterate that product. Also, you can get to sideload or install any applications from just about anywhere, which is great. You don't have to stick with the marketplace that's native to Android, and it doesn't have to be approved by Google or anything like that. So those are two big things going for it. Some negative things about Android is, as I said earlier, that ability to iterate faster also is a detriment, because it means that the carriers, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, what have you, also have to build on it and release it and make sure that before the latest version gets to your phone, they want to make sure that all their stuff is working fine and properly on there, not to mention the phone manufacturers. So Motorola, HTC, any of those devices or companies, they have to also update their software so that it can be released to you. So just because the latest version of the Android operating system is out there, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's on your phone. So you might have to wait weeks, usually months, before you actually get that most up-to-date version. My final thoughts on this are that I think right now iOS is better. iOS is just slightly more polished. It's a bit easier to use. It's slightly more beautiful to look at. And I know a lot of these things are subjective, but again, those are just my opinions. I think over the long run, Android is really going to win out here. Android can iterate faster. They have a more wide variety of phones. You can get dozens of Android phones. You can only get the one iPhone, and again, it only comes out once a year. So that gives a big advantage to Android and how they're going to be creative and innovate in that space. A lot of the phone and manufacturers are going to really take over and start adding a lot of great features to Android. Not to mention it's an open source project, which also gives it a little bit more weight from the programming community, and I think a lot of technology people in general. So that's my stance as of now. Right now, I have my iPhone. The comparisons I was making was iPhone 3GS running iOS 10.4.2 versus my Nexus 1, which is running Android 2.2 Froyo. So as of now, again, I've got to give the slight edge to iOS, although I believe even in less than a year tops, Android could be right up there as the better operating system.